When you stop chasing what is not yours, something strange happens. Something so quiet, so unassuming that most people overlook it as they rush through life with their hands stretched toward horizons that refuse to come closer. If you have ever felt the weight of pursuing what slips away from you like wet paint, refusing to adhere to the canvas, if you have ever sensed that certain people, ambitions or dreams seem to turn their backs the more you ran toward them, then you already know the first whisper of this mystery, and if you are here, it is because some part of you is tired not in the muscles, but in the soul. Like a brush worn down from touching too many surfaces, it was never meant to paint. I speak of this not as a distant philosopher, but as one who lived with ink-stained fingers and eyes sharpened by the study of human shadows. I have watched men chase illusions as if they were solid marble, only to discover that what they pursued had no interest in belonging to them. And I have learned that the moment you stop chasing what is not yours, the world reshapes itself with the precision of divine geometry. Doors that once seemed welded shut reveal that they were never your doors to open. Paths collapse behind you like stage sets dismantled in a forgotten theater, and suddenly, what is truly yours begins to approach, not with noise, but with the same subtlety as light sliding across a room at dawn. I have seen the human spirit tear itself apart in pursuit of what does not respond to its call. A person may chase love that does not recognize them, success that demands their self-erasure, or an identity stitched together from the expectations of strangers. They chase because they believe chasing is a virtue. They believe effort alone can bend destiny. They believe that if the heart aches enough, the universe will apologize and rearrange itself to soothe the pain. But life is not a servant. It does not kneel to desire. It follows laws older than your name, older than your bones, older even than the whisper of consciousness that flickers behind your thoughts. When you stop chasing what is not yours, you begin to see with a new kind of vision, not with the eyes, but with the space behind them. It is like wiping the dust from a mirror and realizing the reflection staring back was never defective. It was simply obscured. Most people spend their lives polishing the wrong surface. They try to force clarity where there is only fog. They insist on pouring themselves into shapes that do not match the outline of their soul. They mistake resistance for challenge, emptiness for possibility, silence for permission to keep pushing. And in doing so, they exhaust the divine machinery within them. I tell you this with the precision of an anatomist and the wonder of an artist. The human spirit is not designed to pursue what rejects it. The moment you stop running toward what turns away, the body exhales in ways you did not know were restrained. You feel it first in the chest, as if invisible hands release a grip around your ribs. Then in the mind, where thoughts begin to settle like dust after a storm. And finally in the soul, where a quiet truth emerges, one that has been waiting for you to stop long enough to hear it. There is a particular kind of emptiness that appears in this moment, an emptiness many fear because it feels like losing a piece of themselves. But that emptiness is not a loss. It is the clearing of space. It is the removal of a false weight. It is the beginning of alignment with what actually belongs to you. And this, my friend, is where the real mystery begins. When you release what is not yours, what is yours begins to find you. Not because you earned it through struggle, but because it was already moving toward you, hindered only by the clutter of your unnecessary pursuits. I invite you to step with me into this deeper vision. Let us walk slowly, as one would explore the inner workings of a clock. Let us observe the precise mechanisms of desire, attachment, intuition, and surrender. For in the stillness after the chase ends, something extraordinary reveals itself, a shift so subtle and so profound that the untrained eye sees nothing, while the intuitive soul recognizes the first sign of liberation. When you stop chasing what is not yours, the world does not celebrate you. It grows strangely silent, as if holding its breath, waiting to see whether you will truly hold your ground or sprint again toward another mirage. In that silence, you may feel exposed, stripped of the illusions that once gave you direction, even if those directions were false. Most people panic in this gap between who they pretended to be and who they might become. They rush to fill the space with noise, distractions, new obsessions, or fresh attempts to force what never belonged to them. They fear that stillness means failure, but the truth is the opposite. Stillness is the first accurate reading of your own inner compass. I have watched this sensation unfold in countless souls. It resembles the moment when a painter steps back from the canvas and realizes the last strokes were unnecessary, even harmful. The instinct might be to continue out of momentum, to refuse the admission that a direction was wrong. Yet wisdom begins precisely at the moment pride dissolves. Most people do not know how to set down a pursuit gracefully. They cling to it like a drowning man clings to driftwood, unaware that the shore is only a few strokes away if they would simply release their grip. You may feel a kind of trembling inside you when you let go. It is not fear, though it resembles fear. It is the soul adjusting to its true weight after carrying burdens that never belonged to it. Picture a sculpture tied to too many ropes, each one pulling it in a direction it was never carved to face. When the ropes are cut, the statue does not immediately find balance. It sways first, it trembles, it threatens to collapse, but slowly, its center of gravity returns. This is what happens to you. And as the trembling settles, intuition awakens. Not the dramatic intuition people like to pretend they feel, but the quiet, ancestral one that rises from the depths like a submerged truth resurfacing. When you stop chasing what is not yours, your intuition is no longer drowned by desperation. You begin to hear subtle inner signals you once disregarded, the tightening in your chest when something is wrong, the lightness when something aligns, the heaviness when you are forcing yourself into a shape that does not match the architecture of your being. These sensations become your new language, the secret map that was always inside you, but obscured by noise. In these moments, you will start to notice the grotesque dance of the world more clearly. You will see people begging for the affection of those who barely see them. You will see individuals sacrificing their peace for goals that do not nourish them. You will see the great theater of society, masks smiling, hearts sinking, voices shouting over each other to hide the truth that they feel profoundly lost. And you will realize how often you participated in this dance without questioning why. When you stop chasing what is not yours, you step out of the choreography. You become the one standing still while everyone else spins in circles. They may call you detached, they may call you strange, they may call you mysterious, simply because your movements no longer match theirs. But the real mystery is not that you become different, it is that you finally become yourself. Without the frantic chase, your energy changes. You stop leaking life force into places that do not return it. And when this energy accumulates within you, something extraordinary happens. You begin to glow from the inside, not with arrogance, but with inner clarity. People sense it. They cannot explain it, but they feel the quiet magnetism of someone who is no longer pulled apart by contradictory desires. It is the calmness of a person who stands firmly in their own gravity. This gravity draws certain things toward you and repels others. What is truly yours emerges slowly at first, like a figure materializing from fog. You may not recognize it right away, because your eyes were trained for years to see only what you chased. But eventually, you perceive a strange and unexpected truth. What is yours does not require pursuit. It responds to your presence naturally. It recognizes you as much as you recognize it. It feels like a door opening without effort, a harmony resonating on its own, a river bending gently toward the sea without needing to be convinced. And yet, in this unfolding, you will confront a hidden sorrow, the realization of how many years you spent chasing shadows, ignoring signs that were always trying to guide you. This sorrow is part of the awakening. It softens you, it humbles you, it reminds you that seeing clearly comes with a price, the grief of seeing how blind you once were. But do not resist this grief. It is a cleansing agent, dissolving the old versions of yourself that were built on attachment instead of understanding. As you surrender to this process, a quiet transformation begins. You stop moving like someone trying to prove your worth and start moving like someone who remembers it. You stop stretching yourself thin to reach distant illusions and begin to gather yourself piece by piece until you return to the center from which your true life can grow. When you stop chasing what is not yours, you begin to notice how much of your suffering was self-inflicted, not out of malice toward yourself, but out of a misunderstanding of how life reveals its treasures. Most people believe that desire is proof of destiny. They think, if I want it strongly enough, it must be meant for me. But the universe does not operate through longing, it operates through resonance. And resonance cannot be chased, it can only be recognized. In the quiet that emerges after the chase, You start observing your past with new eyes. You realize how often you mistook resistance for challenge, or silence for mystery, or emotional chaos for passion. You can almost see the younger version of yourself, bent forward like a figure carrying a lantern through a storm, desperately trying to illuminate a path that did not exist. And for the first time, instead of judging that version of yourself, you feel compassion, because you understand now that you were never chasing the thing itself. You were chasing the meaning you hoped it would give you. This is the moment when the human heart undergoes a subtle but profound reorganization. It feels as though someone has taken the tangled threads inside you and begun, patiently and silently, to loosen the knots. Every memory you revisit becomes part of this unraveling. The relationships you clung to despite the ache, the goals that drained you, the people who never saw you, the dreams that demanded you abandon yourself. They float up like fragments of old frescoes revealed beneath layers of dust. You see them not as failures but as clues, each one showing you what happens when you run toward what does not run toward you. As your vision sharpens, you begin to understand the anatomy of alignment. It is not a matter of force. It is not a matter of winning. It is not a matter of conquering through persistence. Alignment is more like the delicate balance of a mobile sculpture suspended in air. Each piece must find its place according to weight, distance, and natural motion. If one element is pushed too hard, the entire structure trembles. If you chase something that cannot hold your weight, it collapses. But when the balance is right, the sculpture seems to move on its own, the gentlest breath of air causing it to sway in perfect harmony. This is what your life begins to feel like. There is no grand announcement, no dramatic flash of revelation. Instead, there is a deepening sense of coherence. You wake up one morning and notice you no longer feel the old tightness in your chest. You speak to someone who once made you feel small, and you feel nothing. No anger, no longing, no desire to convince them of your value. You walk past an opportunity that once glittered like gold, and you do not feel the impulse to chase it. Instead, you feel an inner nod, a subtle acknowledgement that says, "Ah yes, that was never mine." This shift is not only emotional, it is spiritual. It feels as though the unseen part of you, the part that watches from behind your eyes, has stepped forward and taken its rightful place. And from that place, the world looks different. People's intentions become clearer. Your own motives become visible. You can distinguish between what calls you and what merely distracts you. You can sense when something is aligned with your soul or when it feeds only your ego. This clarity is both liberating and terrifying, because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. There is a strange loneliness that arrives with this clarity, not because you are actually alone, but because you begin to detach from the collective illusions that once connected you to others. You see the world more like an anatomist sees the body, with precision, with humility, with a quiet understanding of how fragile every system truly is. You notice how people grasp for validation, how they run from silence, how they cling to what is slowly destroying them, and you realize you once did the same, but now something inside you refuses to participate. This refusal is not rebellion, it is growth. It is the natural shedding of a skin that has become too tight. Yet the moment you shed it, those around you may not understand. They might say you have changed, as if it were an accusation. They might call you distant or withdrawn. They might say your energy feels different, as if you had stepped into another dimension while still sharing the same space. And in a way you have, because once you stop chasing what is not yours, you rise, not upward, but inward. You descend into yourself with the depth of a diver, exploring a silent underwater cathedral. There, in that depth, you discover the quiet truth that had always been waiting for you. What is truly yours is never frantic. It never demands your self-betrayal. It never runs from you. It approaches with the same patience you once lacked, and it recognizes you immediately, as if it had been searching for you too. When you stop chasing what is not yours, a fascinating paradox unfolds. The very world you once believed was indifferent to you begins to reveal its hidden architecture. It is as though the stage lights dim and, for the first time, you can see the ropes, the pulleys, the hands moving behind the curtains. What once felt like chaos now appears orchestrated. What once felt random now begins to form patterns, subtle at first, then undeniable. You realize that the universe was never blocking you out of cruelty. It was guiding you out of blindness. In this new vision, you begin to sense the difference between resistance and redirection. You understand that life rarely slams doors out of punishment. It closes them to prevent you from walking into rooms that would shrink you. You begin to notice the gentle nudges that were always there, urging you away from what drained your essence. But back then, you interpreted these signs as obstacles, thinking, if it's hard, it must be worth it. What a tragic misconception. Hardship is not always a sign of value. Sometimes it is simply friction produced by a path that does not welcome you. And so you start listening differently, not to the loud demands of ego, but to the faint whisper beneath it. That whisper does not push, it invites. It does not pressure, it aligns. When you finally tune into that frequency, you discover that intuition is not mystical at all. It is mechanical, anatomical, precise. It is the way your inner equilibrium communicates with the external world. You can feel it as clearly as you can sense when a painting is unbalanced, when a line is crooked, or when a note in a melody does not match the harmony. Your spirit becomes a finely tuned instrument, resonating only with what matches your inner architecture. However, this level of clarity requires a kind of courage that few possess. The courage to release emotional debts that were never yours to pay. The courage to allow certain people to fade without chasing them into the shadows. The courage to admit that some dreams were adopted, not born. And the courage to trust that absence is not always a void. Sometimes it is a correction. This is where many struggle. They fear letting go because they mistake attachment for connection. They think, if I stop chasing, I will lose everything. But what kind of everything must be chased to be kept? What kind of connection collapses the moment you stop holding it together with your bare hands? What kind of destiny requires you to beg for recognition? Such things are not yours. They never were. When you step away from the chase, you give others the chance to reveal themselves. Some will drift, confirming what your spirit already sensed. Others will remain, not because you begged them to, but because you no longer need to. Relationships, opportunities, and paths that are truly yours stand on their own legs. They do not need you to exhaust yourself to sustain them. They do not require your spirit to bend or your authenticity to shrink. And while this understanding brings peace, it also brings a sharp clarity that can cut. You begin to see how much of your suffering came from trying to earn what should have come naturally. You see how often you betrayed yourself for a seat in someone else's story. You see the years you lost trying to convince the wrong doors to open. This awareness is painful, but it is the kind of pain that purifies like fire refining metal. It does not destroy you. It reveals your true form beneath the residue of your old illusions. As this purification unfolds, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel time differently. The future no longer feels like a threat you must outrun. The past no longer feels like a prison dragging you backward. Time becomes spacious, fluid, almost obedient. You are no longer scattered across memories and fears. You inhabit your present moment with a density that others can feel. People may not know what changed in you, but they sense the new stillness, the grounded presence, the absence of inner noise. And with this grounded presence, life begins to respond. Opportunities that once ignored you now move in your direction. Connections that once felt fragile now feel stable. Ideas that once seemed distant now unfold effortlessly, as if they were waiting for you to stop chasing long enough for them to approach. You realize then that what is truly yours carries its own momentum. It does not require pursuit, only recognition. It moves toward you as naturally as shadow follows light, and in this recognition, something awakens inside you. A sense of belonging not tied to place, person, or achievement, but to yourself. A feeling that whispers, you are finally where you were always meant to be. When you stop chasing what is not yours, an inner silence emerges. A silence so spacious that it feels almost sacred. It is the kind of silence that appears in the final strokes of a painting, when the artist pauses not out of uncertainty, but out of reverence. In this silence, you begin to hear something that was always speaking beneath the noise of your old life, the unmistakable hum of alignment. It is not loud, not dramatic, not dazzling. It feels more like a soft current moving through your chest, like your spirit finally exhaling after years of holding its breath. You begin to understand that there was never anything wrong with you, only with the directions you were taught to run toward. You were told to chase admiration, then wondered why admiration felt hollow. You were told to chase love, then wondered why love felt like negotiation. You were told to chase success, then wondered why success felt like a corridor with no windows. You were told to chase purpose, as if purpose were hiding somewhere outside you. But all along, what was meant for you was moving quietly in your direction, asking only that you stop sprinting long enough to notice its presence. There is a moment, subtle but unmistakable, when this truth clicks into place. It feels like a shift inside your ribcage, like a beam of light touching a part of you that has been kept in shadow. Suddenly, you do not feel the urge to prove anything. You do not feel the need to chase validation. You do not feel the pressure to earn belonging. Instead, belonging begins to rise from within you like a tide, steady and inevitable. You feel as though your life is no longer something you must fight your way into. It is something you are finally stepping into. With this new orientation, choices become clearer. You naturally gravitate toward what nourishes your spirit. You decline what depletes it. You stop explaining yourself to people who have no intention of understanding you. You stop negotiating your worth with environments that only valued you when you were useful. You begin to realize that peace is not passive. It is a discipline. It is the art of refusing to invest your energy in places where it is swallowed instead of reciprocated. And then, something even more mysterious happens. The world mirrors your inner shift. People who resonate with your authenticity start appearing in your life as if summoned by an unseen signal. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers now rest calmly in your open palms. Paths unfold not through force but through a quiet sense of inevitability. You begin to see that what is meant for you does not compete for your attention. It stands before you like a doorway, waiting for your willingness to walk through. In this phase of life, you no longer move like a seeker chasing distant promises. You move like a creator shaping your reality with deliberate presence. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You act less impulsively, but your actions strike with greater precision. You choose with the same care that a sculptor uses to remove stone, knowing that each choice reveals more of your essence. And with every step you take in alignment, life begins to simplify itself, not because it becomes easy, but because it becomes real. You stop fighting for outcomes that never fit you. You stop forcing doors that were never carved for your hands. You stop betraying yourself for paths that do not recognize your footprints. Instead, you honor the quiet rhythms of your own nature. You follow the subtle compass inside you, the one that was always pointing in the right direction, even when you ignored it. This is when you finally understand the deeper truth hidden in the act of letting go. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to walk with awareness, to move with intention, to receive what resonates with the architecture of your soul. What is yours does not hide. What is yours does not run. What is yours comes to you with a sense of recognition, as if it had been searching for you through lifetimes. And so the real transformation is not in what you gain, but in what you stop allowing. The noise, the forcing, the distortion, the begging for crumbs of meaning. When all of that falls away, what remains is a life built on clarity, on truth, on resonance. A life that feels like an unfolding rather than a chase. By the end of this journey, you become someone else, not because you changed, but because you returned. Returned to the center you abandoned while chasing illusions. Returned to the knowing that once guided you. Returned to the quiet intelligence of your own intuition. And when you stand in that place, completely anchored, completely present, completely aligned, something profound reveals itself. The things that are meant for you begin to move in your direction with the same devotion you once reserved for everything that was never yours. You no longer reach for the world. The world reaches for you, like light seeking the surface of still water, like truth finding the mind prepared to receive it, like destiny recognizing its rightful owner. And as this realization settles into your bones, you understand the final revelation. When you stop chasing what is not yours, you free your hands to finally hold what is.